I'm going to quote directly from this Privy Council report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada, they predict. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts, and many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. It is the Prime Minister's personal department. I think somebody has to ask Mark Carney, has he seen this report? His department wrote it. And what they are anticipating on the current trajectory is a total meltdown, a societal breakdown in Canada if we stay on the current track. You know, we have to take into consideration the context in which we're announcing this platform for a change. Just Saturday, Mark Carney announced that not only will he keep all of Justin Trudeau's reckless spending, he will add $130 billion more. Spending that will drive costs higher for food, housing, and everything else. Spending that will risk our economy and threaten our future. It's not that Mark Carney is as bad as Justin Trudeau. He's far more costly. We also learned from media reports that the Carney platform was already written for Justin Trudeau. So Mr. Carney has the same Liberal MPs, same Liberal ministers, same Liberal platform, and you will get the same disastrous Liberal results. And it is a very dangerous future if the Liberals get their fourth term. And this isn't just my words. It's Mark Carney's own government department. Just a week ago, we learned that one of the departments of the government, the Privy Council office, has made some very depressing predictions about the way the country is headed after a decade of Liberal rule. I'm going to quote directly from this Privy Council report. In 2040, upward mobility is almost unheard of in Canada, they predict. Hardly anyone believes they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts, and many worry about sliding down the social order. It forecasts more people may struggle to afford rent, bills, and groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand for social services. And then there's some specific forecasts that the current Liberal government is making about our future. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. The report goes on to say that people may lose faith in the Canadian project altogether. It forecasts that many will leave the country to avoid this rising cost and declining opportunity. And they believe that it will lead to a mental health crisis. More people will emigrate to jurisdictions where they believe upward mobility and or higher standards of living are easier to obtain. Quote, if young workers leave Canada, it may become harder to pay for the systems that support a growing number of older people. It says things are so bad that, and this is a quote, I'm quoting from the government here, if I had said this myself, you would have thought it was outlandish, but this is the government's own predictions about how bad things are headed right now. People may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways because they can't afford groceries anymore. This isn't my prediction. This is where the country is headed if we continue down the Liberal track. It sounds incredible, something from a post-apocalyptic TV show like Fallout or The Last of Us, but this is the forecast from Prime Minister Carney's own government department, the Privy Council office. Now, Mr. Carney plans to continue the very policies that got us into this mess in the first place. In fact, he plans to go even further. $130 billion of additional spending above and beyond what Justin Trudeau had already promised. But the good news is, it doesn't have to be this way. We can choose change. We can choose hope. We can choose our future. We will cut the Liberal deficit by 70% by cutting back on bureaucracy, consultants, foreign aid to dictators, terrorists, and global bureaucracies, slashing money for special interests, and unleashing $500 billion of extra economic growth by unlocking the power of our resources and home building. We will, thank you. Now, in the past, I've told you that there would be a dollar for dollar law. Every dollar of new spending would need to be matched with a dollar of savings. We've gone even further. Every dollar of new spending in our platform, especially for things like defense, will be met with $1.50 in savings in other areas. Whenever I spend money, I will think of it as my mother's money, a retired teacher. If she would not be happy with it coming out of her retirement funds, then I should not be happy spending it. Canadians have been pinching their pennies long enough. It's time for government to start pinching pennies as well.
Canadian Press.
Thank you.
Your platform calls for $20 billion in revenue in the first year from tariff response, but you've previously said that a Conservative government would redistribute that to affected workers and tax cuts, and you've also said that you would look to pause tariffs in an early renegotiation of a new trade deal with the United States. So I'm wondering how you account for that $20 billion in revenue in year one with those variables at play and a $31 billion deficit already forecast.
Yes, that's a very good question. So you're right, we are inheriting a very large Liberal deficit. It's actually $46.8 billion right now under the current Liberal government. And well, let's be clear. All of these deficits that we're talking about are inherited from the previous Liberal government. So let's not pretend that these deficits were created by anyone other than Mark Carney and Justin Trudeau. On the tariffs, I have to accept the numbers the government published. Mr. Carney has said that the tariffs will generate $20 billion. What I'm committed to is redistributing that money to Canadians through tax cuts and through targeted aid to industries that are directly affected. So I have said that we will be cutting taxes by more than $20 billion by lowering income tax 15%, axing the sales tax on new homes, letting seniors have $34,000 tax-free earnings should they choose, axing the sales tax on Canadian-made automobiles, axing the carbon tax. So we will use the money to cut taxes on work, investment, energy, and home building, and also to eliminate the capital gains tax on any monies reinvested in Canada. We also have set up a fund, I think it's $2 or $3 billion that we have put aside to keep Canadians working. It's called the Keep Canadians Working Fund. It is going to be a loan program, but it's going to target those businesses that we know can survive and thrive in the future, but are trying to avoid layoffs in the short term while we go through this unfortunate and frankly wrong-headed tariff dispute that the President has wrongly pursued. So look, the bottom line is that with all this going on, we can't afford a fourth Liberal term of rising costs and crime. We need a change with a new Conservative government that will cut waste, cap spending, lower taxes, and bring home an affordable life for all Canadians. Thank you.
Mr. Poilievre, Joe Warmington from the Toronto Sun and Post Media.
Hey, Joe.
Nice to be here today. And
thank you.
I would be remiss as a reporter to not talk about what you talked about. And I want to talk about the platform, but just before that, you mentioned about this report out of the Privy Council.
Yeah.
Now, as a crime reporter, if you will, when I hear something like that, I cannot believe what I've heard. And it's such a stark contrast to what you talked about in your platform. But I do want to go back, if you can address that, how that's going to help fix it. But that is the most negative thing in my 40 years in journalism that I've ever heard about Canada. I don't see it too many places in the media, and I think it can't be glossed over. So I'd like to talk about that and how you're going to fix that if you win on next week.
I think you're absolutely right. I'm shocked that, like, this is not an interest group or an opinion columnist or even a think tank that has put out this report. It is not even just a government department. It is the Prime Minister's personal department. Like, I think somebody has to ask Mark Carney, has he seen this report? His department wrote it. And what they are anticipating on the current trajectory is a total meltdown, a societal breakdown in Canada if we stay on the current track. Why this isn't blazing the front pages of every news outlet in the country right now is beyond me. It's just unbelievable. It blows my mind. What they're actually saying is that, I'm just going to read some of these. More people, this is for the future. It's not enough for Mr. Carney to say, oh, well, the last 10 years is in the past, forget about it. Stop bothering me about the past, he will say. This is the predicted future his department foresees for Canada. More people may struggle to afford rent, bills, or groceries. The resulting stress could worsen mental health challenges. This would increase demand on social services. In 2040, upward social mobility is almost unheard of in Canada. Hardly anyone believes that they can build a better life for themselves or their children through their own efforts. Many worry about sliding down the social order. In 2040, owning a home is not a realistic goal for many. Inequality between those who rent and those who own has become a key driver of social, economic, and political conflict. In 2040, pursuing a post-secondary education is no longer considered a reliable path to social mobility. Fewer young people choose post-secondary education, and those who do see it less as a path to a successful career than a way to reinforce their membership in the, quote, elite. That's not my words. That's the government's words. The report paints a terrifying picture of a spiral of economic depression and cost inflation. People may lose faith in the Canadian project, it says. It forecasts that this may trigger people to, quote, emigrate to jurisdictions where they perceive upward social mobility or other higher standards of living are easier to obtain. If young workers leave, it may become harder to pay for our social programs for the older people in the country. And then this last line, it staggers me. That because groceries are expected to become so expensive, according to Mr. Carney's top government department, people may start to hunt, fish, and forage on public lands and waterways. Like, it is just hard to believe when you read these words that this is about Canada. This is exactly why I'm in politics, to reverse this, to give people back the promise of this country. And we know what to do. We know how to get there. We have to unleash a plan for change, a plan that will cut people's taxes so their hard work pays off, that will remove bureaucracy so we can build over 2 million homes, that will lock up the violent criminals, that will unleash our resources to generate a $500 billion of extra economic growth, that will fund schools and hospitals and opportunity for our people. That's what's at stake.